Okay, so people have been asking me, how do I know what's under the water? Well, when I was in Hawaii, I was at the 500th Military Intelligence Brigade. I can't, I have to route you a different way. There's certain things you just can't, come out and say. Let's put it this way. I know what's under the water. We, as a government, know what's under the water. When I was there, a craft flew overhead. I was home. It was the kids. Kids were all playing. And I lived right by Pearl Harbor. So, I was 2 streets from the ocean, man. And a craft came over, and it was shaped like that. And it went up, and it stayed in the sky like that. It didn't move. For an hour, people were shooting fireworks at this thing. I got pictures of it. I put on the Facebook. I can repost them if you want. But we watched this thing. And you watched it because you couldn't stop looking at it. It had to be 200 feet in the air. It looked like it was a bent wing, man. It was like that. One wing was this tilted, and the other one was up. And it sat there. It did not move. I got pictures. This thing, after about almost an hour, I said 45 minutes to an hour, you could hear helicopters coming from Hickam behind me. And they started to come in. The thing started to drift like this. See, this is it up in the sky. It started doing this. And it turned and it drifted. And these helicopters were coming. Then you could hear jets coming. Okay? The afterburners are going. These suckers are moving. They want to get whatever this thing is. And all of a sudden this thing goes all the way out by Diamond Head, which is the famous island mountain at the end of the island where Dog the Bounty Hunter lived. So it goes out that way, and it's probably half a mile out from the tip of the mountain. And now the helicopters have turned, the jets have come, and now they got to come back, and they're doing this big turn to come towards it, and this thing went straight down into the water. Straight into the water. Everything, boats, everything started to come. They were there all night long searching, and dive teams were going in. They had everything out there. Copters were going around. There were Blackhawks just freaking circling the top of us. And this thing went under the water and never surfaced. It didn't splash, nothing. But there was a huge conglomeration of different services out there. And they just circled above this spot where it went down. They looked all night long. I literally couldn't stay up any later. I went to bed. It had to be 3:30 in the morning. I was trying to see if anything happened. Next morning, nothing. Not a trace. There's never a word. Got the basers. People are talking, but not many people know what's going on. And I had pictures, and man, I got called in to the CO's office, Colonel Grove. And I got my ass handed to me about these pictures. He demanded my phone. He took my frickin' SD card out of my phone, everything. But I already backed that shit up on computer, man. I ain't stupid. So he took all that. I got in trouble. Told me if I ever did that shit again, he'd see to it that I served time and blah, blah, blah. And it was stupid, man. And then everything went wrong after that. I seen files that people shouldn't see. But as far as the underwater thing goes, it's the biggest parking lot on Earth. There's no way to get them. There's no way to flush them out. It's believed that there's a civilization that has been under that water for thousands and thousands of years. And they come from the core, man. It's not just, they don't just go under the water. They go under the water into the little hatch door I explained in another video. All the water is released, the ship goes in, and there's a whole entire gigantic, we know it's a gigantic, city and a half down there. And they're operating under there, and that's all over the Marianas Trench, same thing. Deepest part of the ocean, side door in the trench area, opens up this hatch, you go in. They've already discovered this. I've seen proof of this. There's hatches all over. But we're going to stick to the under the water thing because I'm not going to go into the mesas and the desert yet because I've been out there personally, and spooky. I mean, we're talking spooky, and I've seen some UFO. Man, in my lifetime, I must have seen over 25 UFOs. I had one right after my wife Amy had died go above my head. I went outside my dad's back door, went above my head like this. It was partially invisible, partially cloaked. And I mean, it was moving probably this quick above my head. Like that. I looked up and I couldn't believe what I was looking at. It was that close. It was shaped like a really wide triangle. But it went up and it had depth up the side. You know, it had to be like 3 feet side, and then it went to a flatter top with a dome where somebody would sit. You could see the outline of the whole thing. And as it got over my head and it got in front of me, I ran and got my dad and my son. And they came out and witnessed this thing going over it came to a house and went up like this. Over the house and went right back down the same angle, heading out towards Lake St. Clair. It was on that dead angle. My dad lives at 16 Mile Road in Garfield on Penrod Street. And he's like dead in the middle of the block. So this thing went, I'm not kidding you guys. If I tilt this camera up, it would have been straight above my head like that. And they had it right for the water. So, I mean, what I know from the military, it's the biggest parking lot on Earth. You can't find them if you want to find them. We know they're there. We've got radar signatures. We've got heat signatures. We've got everything you could want. Everything you see on TV is bullshit. The beings are here. They're watching us. They're waiting for us to screw up. That's why you're seeing more and more. Things on this earth are going wrong. And we're getting to that point, that tipping point. And they're not allowed to interfere. But if we're going to hurt the planet, they're going to interfere. So, I mean, there's no nukes, no nothing. And you're seeing more and more and more and more and more. Now we're getting way more sightings. Something's about to give. We're supposed to be in a transitional phase into the new world where man opens up and man gets smarter. We become more intelligent, where we can join this galactic federation. That's what they're called, the Galactic Federation. And they're on the moon. There's gigantic, and I mean gigantic, craft in the rings of Saturn that shoots a signal to Earth. And we pick up the signal. Amateurs are picking up the signal. Look it up if you don't believe me. We know it's in the rings. We know this thing is we can't even fathom how they built it. It's so big. And you know what? When you're like human, you got to remove yourself from the way we think. And you got to think outside of the box, because we can't do what they do. There's nothing that they do we can duplicate, really. We can only do the minute things that they're capable of. But their craft that they have in Saturn's rings, and it's a proven fact it's there. You can look it up. I mean, you start looking it up, you'll look and you'll see. We're getting the signal. It's constantly coming to Earth. Constant signal. You know, it's there. And whatever they're talking about, I don't know. That wasn't my thing, but it goes right. We get signals come straight out of the ocean. I mean, dead on out of the ocean. And go straight up, and they head out that way. So somebody's communicating back. But I'm telling you guys, Lake Michigan's loaded. Lake Superior is loaded. If there's a body of water on the planet, just consider it a parking lot, man. They're under the water. You're going to find out sooner or later, within our lifetime, you're going to see the evidence is there. We're not looking hard enough, and a lot of people don't want to believe it. I'm telling you firsthand, I've seen the files. I've seen all the data. I've seen photos. I've seen weaponry that we've developed from their technology. We had a weapon. This is the weirdest shit I've ever seen. They had a weapon. They put a watermelon about 200 yards in a big warehouse type setting. And there was a guy, it looked like a little pistol. It wasn't shaped like, it was shaped like a pistol, but it wasn't shaped like our pistol. It had a weird contour to it. And he pointed at the watermelon. He squeezed the trigger, not a sound, nothing came out. That watermelon turned into vapor. And there had to be, 150 people in that room watching this demonstration. And every day at Fort Huachuca in Arizona, the intelligence base, your phone would shut off. All the digital stuff on the base would just go out. Boom. It was a daily event. And they're underground there. We have an underground base. We have like 150 underground bases. They have maglev trains. They go so quick they can get from DC to California in like 2.5 hours. So all this operation under the ground, we know what's going on. And we're set up for a whole civilization under the ground. But as far as under the water goes, man, we don't own the water, man. I don't go in the fucking water. Don't go in the water. That's all I can tell you. It is packed. And they float and swim down there. I'm not kidding you. They go out and like, we're a military, they're a military. So you don't see these craft up in the sky or anywhere and think it's individuals that just, no, they're military and scientists and all that, just like we would send. No different. So they do under the water, it's all militarized. Trust me, you don't want to go in the water, man. Boats don't disappear for no reason. Planes don't just come falling out of the sky and never be seen again and can't be found on the bottom of the ocean for no reason. We are not in control. So the government's got to play their game because they lied about Roswell. So now they got to backpedal and act like, oh, this is all new. It's not new, and they know it's not new, but they are not going to come out and say, well, we lied to you about Roswell. We've recovered. No, they're not going to do it. So now we're going to play the game, and however they want it to unfold, it's going to unfold. But I'm telling you now, boaters, all of you, you are not alone in that water. That is a promise. They're all over the water, man. I'm not going in the water. You know, I don't care. I ain't being nobody's experiment. Not they don't want to kill you or nothing, but I'm not going to get strapped down to no table and get my DNA and needles on my belly button. I already know what they do. They milk the men for the sperm, and I don't want nothing to do with it, dude. I've already seen so many files on people that have been abducted that have been so classified, they will not release those to the public. They know exactly what's going on. It's an even exchange. We allow it to happen. They know what's going on. They let it happen. And in exchange, we get technology. So if we allow them to abduct our people, why are there so many missing people, man? Never to be found again. Look at the missing persons files. Go state by state. Check it out. It's no coincidence the most missing persons are in states with the most UFO sightings. All right? I'll leave it with that.